Hi everybody, Suzanne Rees, the Study Coach, and welcome to our webinar on how to overcome the overload of reading. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to go through some very short slides. So bear with me for a moment while I load my screen. There we go. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to really talk about is there we go. Okay, so just bear with me for a moment. For some reason, my slides have got a mind of their own and they're not moving along. Okay, so let's see if we can just go to the beginning of the slides. Nope. Hold on. Let's just wait 1 second. Bear with me for a moment. Let's just stop the share for a moment and I will try and sort out my slides, which are behind the scene. And for some reason, let me just focus on getting them back into format. You can talk among yourself. Where I tried these earlier and they worked perfectly. So let me just go to view. Let's just go back, see if we can go backwards. Nope. Okay. Slide. Go to number slide. So, interesting. Okay, let's forget the slides because they obviously don't want to. They don't want to show up. I have already looked at them, so I know what they say. So, what's the first thing that happens? You're going to prepare for a class, and it's not as simple as just, okay, let me just read one article and I compare for my class. You've got pre-class reading. You then have pre-class exercises to complete. Then you've got reading to do for the actual class, you know, whether it's a workshop, a seminar, whatever it is. And then during the seminar, you're going to do small reading. And then at the end of the seminar, you're going to do a consolidation exercise and sort of cement all of that knowledge that you've gained. And the result of that is, especially for law students, you can have a massive overload of information. So much stuff to read, massive reading lists, and you just start to say to yourself, you know, it's impossible to do all of this pre-workshop, webinar reading, and also fit in all the other reading I've got to do for the courses. And I saw this with students, and certainly with my own experience where I would prepare for classes and the reading list was ridiculous. You know, I would have spent a week preparing for a class and I had to develop a strategy for getting through this enormous amount of reading. So what I'm hoping to do today is to help you understand how to cut through those massive reading lists that you get as a law student and to focus on really understanding how to get to the core stuff, read that, and make sure that you stay sane in the process. Well, the first thing you've got to do is, of course, understand what is this class or webinar or workshop going to cover. And you've got to identify what that topic is and make sure that you read enough to get the most out of that class. Now, the best place to find out what the workshop's going to cover is either in the student instructions or to the class outline. And most students absolutely just ignore this information and just move to the chapter of the book they've been told to read in their core reading. Well, that's not the most sensible thing to do. What you want to know is precisely what areas is this class going to cover? What do I need to cover in this seminar? And what task, if any, am I going to have to do in this seminar in order for it to be effective? And all of that, wonderfully, is in the course and the workshop outline or your student instructions. And quite often these instructions are quite concise. There may be 1 or 2 pages. And what they help to do is set out the broad pattern of how that workshop or that seminar or the class is going to be run. Now, if you can understand what the beginning and end points of that workshop are going to be, then you can start to plan. It's a bit like thinking of yourself going to an event. You need to know where the venue is, what building you're going to go into. And that's what student instructions do. They help you to understand what you're going to focus on. So having identified that, what's the next thing to do? Right, jump into the reading list? No. I want you to then think about the subject that you're going to cover. Now, we learn more if we understand the context of the subject. So try to think of this as understanding the structure and the frame of a subject before you focus in on the little detail points. So if you were going to do, for example, the law of contract, you're not going to do all of the law of contract in one go. You're going to focus on sections of the law of contract. So typically you start off with what an offer is, what acceptance is, what consideration is, what intention to create legal relations are, and eventually whether you end up with a binding contract. So if you just take one piece, an offer in the law of contract, you're not going to have to know everything about an offer in the law of contract, but you need to understand the broad general principles. And this is where my second key information is. Make sure that you have a very good revision textbook handy, because revision textbooks have a wonderful habit of just summarizing the essential information that you want to know on that topic. And before you start to read any detailed information, you want to know the essentials, because then the detailed information will make sense. If you start by trying to read the detailed stuff, like a case on contract law about acceptance or an offer, often it can be quite confusing because you don't have the context. So my advice is get a fantastic revision book, read the section that relates to that topic before you start to read your designated reading. So first of all, read your student instructions, find out what class is about and the scope of it. 2, when you understand the scope of the class, get a revision book and read the revision book on that topic. By definition, it'll be a couple of pages, it'll be short, it'll be precise, and it will be to the point. 3rd, once you've got an idea of the broad principles of the topic, now it's time to go into your schedule reading. But you'll have a reading list with maybe 10 things on it. So if you don't have time, what do you read? Well, clearly you want to read the essential stuff, but they'll tell you that it's all essential. So how do you work out what's essential? Well, first of all, you need to, having read the nutshell version of it in the revision guide, to focus on reading the basic introductory elementary stuff in your reading list. You'll have a specific book or manual that's been recommended to you. Read the chapter that relates to the topic of your workshop or your class. Having done that, you might find that there's some important cases or articles that you've got to read. You might have 10 cases to read. You haven't got time to read 10 cases. So what do? I always recommend you start with a case that's the case that represents a leading authority. Start with the article that is the focus of the workshop or the class. So whatever is the main authority for that topic, definitely read that. And in that article or that judgment, you're going to read the person who provides the most useful information. So that will be somebody that everybody's quoting from their judgment or they're quoting from their article on it. And hopefully that will be 2 or 3 more pages. Then finally, you've got to work out, does this workshop or class require me to complete a task? Now, often students will think, well, I've done the reading, I'll go along with my notes and I will clearly look like I'm prepared. But being prepared is not just about doing the reading sometimes, especially with postgraduate courses. It's often about taking to the class some sort of work. So if you've got to do a draft or you've got to consider some questions, it's really important that you complete that exercise. Now, quite often in your student instructions, they will tell you how long the exercise should take to do. It doesn't have to be perfect. but make sure that you complete 1 or 2 of those exercises, because the experience you're going to get in class will be so much better if you've done more than just read the basic books. So what's my advice? 1, make sure you read these student instructions and find out what the important topics are going to be in the class. Secondly, make sure that you read a great revision aid so that you understand the broad concepts of the subject. 3, find the essential reading and read that chapter after you've read the revision guide. The 4th, if you need to look at specific and detailed information, this is the time to read 1 case, 1 article, 1 judgment, anything that's the main case or judgment that you're going to discuss in that workshop. And 5th, make sure that you complete any tasks that you're required to do. Now, this is not the sort of preparation that you're going to do in 10 minutes before a class. But if you've got 3 hours before a class and you don't have time to spend 15 hours doing the prep that's recommended, I think you'll be able to do all of those things in a relatively short space of time, and certainly within a couple of hours. The other thing I have to say is you've got to get your environment right. If you're going to do intense focused study, it's important that you have the right environment. So think of lighting, seating, heating. Make sure that your environment is quiet and that you're able to focus on the task that you're doing. So 3 hours with a couple of breaks in there of focused study is much better than 5 hours of unfocused study and also looking at your phone, your WhatsApp account, a bit of Facebook and a bit of Twitter and a few Instagram posts. Focus your time and make sure that it's effective. Okay, now let's see if we've got any questions from anybody. I can't see any questions at the moment. Let me just, I have got one comment. Excellent. Great. How do you overcome stress to focus on your study is one of the questions I've got, and get more benefit. Okay, so the thing to remember about being stressed and overwhelmed is that you haven't got time to waste on stress. You have to have a focused mindset. You know how much time you've got to prepare. So let's say you've got 2 hours. There's no point stressing about, I've only got 2 hours, stressing for half an hour or an hour and then only having an hour. There's a part of you that's just got to work out the maths. I've got 2 hours. What can I do in that time? Let me get on and do it now. Stressing just takes away from your focus and your study, and it doesn't actually get you anywhere further down that line in doing your preparation. So I always say, have a good talk to yourself. All right, got 2 hours. It's better than no hours. And I'm just going to focus for the next 2 hours on doing this task. And what you find is that as you focus on the task, forget all the other things that are going on. As you focus on the task, your stress disappears. You're focused on the task. You get the job done. Okay, you had 2 hours, and it's amazing how quickly it'll fly by if you're focused on the task. So forget stress. Yeah, we all get stressed. Get your books organized, read your student instructions, understand what you need to do, grab your revision book, grab your basic essential reading and 1 case, 1 article, and read those. Spend your time preparing and doing any actual task, so it's questions and answers, or it's drafting something that you need to draft. Even if it's just 1 out of 3 things, just draft 1, because it's through actually doing these exercises that the subject is going to cement into your head. It's going to make your revision sessions a lot easier, and you're going to get so much more out of the class if you can go to class with at least 1 task or 1 project that you're supposed to do, even if you haven't done all 3. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's about being effective with the time that you've got. And sometimes we don't have 15 hours to spend doing preparation. The important thing is to spend the time you do have wisely. Now, quite a lot of books will focus on a summary of what they're going to deal with in a chapter, and at the end, they summarize all of the information that they've covered in that chapter. And a really good way of cheating is, rather than starting at the beginning of the chapter and then just slowly reading all the way through the chapter, and then maybe 10, 12 pages later you get to the end, I actually do this really strange thing. I start at the end of a chapter, excuse me. I start at the end of a chapter and I read that lovely summary that they've put in the last 4 or 5 paragraphs of the chapter, summarizing the information that they've put in the chapter. And then your brain sort of goes, oh yeah, I understand this. And then as you read the chapter, excuse me, it becomes easier. Okay, any more questions? Nope. Great. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed our short how to get over reading, and I will see you next Wednesday. Excuse me, same time. And if you've got any questions, send them to me at www.inspiredstudy.org on our Facebook page. Oh, got another question. How do you improve your opinion writing skills? How do you improve your opinion writing skills? Do you have to have any courses? Oh, so interesting question there. Thanks, Zainab. All about opinion writing. Okay, so opinion writing is a legal writing skill. And I have developed a series of 3 very simple introductory courses to opinion writing. And what I've tried to do is, just to have short videos that focus you on reading the case papers, doing case analysis, and then drafting a opinion yourself, and then comparing it with a sample opinion that I've produced. And in the videos, we go through why I've put certain information into a sample opinion and what lessons you can take from reading your own sample opinion and the sample opinion that I've drafted. So if you're interested in opinion writing, then do go along to my website, www.inspiredstudy.org, and check out the opinion writing courses. And I think we've got a special offer on at the moment where you get buy 2 courses and you get the 3rd one free. So if you're about to do some opinion writing or legal opinion writing, that's a great course to check out. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and we will be back at 6 o'clock at the same time next Wednesday. So see you then. Have a fantastic week.